right, I need to know, how many of you in here know the capital of Venezuela? That's an important question. Does anybody know the capital of Venezuela?
Caracas.
The reason I asked that, what's probably the best way to learn something?
Saying it.
Make a mistake. When I was in the 5th grade, which is at least 20, 30 years ago, I took a geography test on all the states and capital, all the countries and capitals in South America. I missed one question. Capital of Venezuela. It is Caracas, by the way. I'm very impressed for those of you that knew that. We've all learned a lot of hard lessons, and when you learn them the hard way, usually you remember them. And it's important to learn from our mistakes. The Bible teaches much the same thing. But we learn from our failures. On one occasion, Paul said, "For everything that was written in the past was written to teach us, so that through endurance and encouragement of the Scriptures we might have hope." There are multiple cases in the Bible where people have been reported to have messed up, made bad decisions, and got in big trouble with God. Why are those there? I mean, why would God bother to tell us about the failures? Why not just tell us about the successes?
He wants us to learn from our failures.
Well, He wants us to learn from our failures, and He wants us to learn from theirs. I used to tell my kids, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every generation. Learn from my mistakes. I did some things that I wouldn't do again. I want you to learn from that. When I first got married, we weren't making very much money. And one day I got a credit card in the mail. And I thought, all right, I got some money. And then I found out, no, I don't have money, I have debt. It took me years to get out of paying credit card debt. So I taught my children when they came along, when I brought them home from the hospital, I put them in the bassinet, I stood over them, I said, "Thou shalt not use credit cards." So we learn from our mistakes. And the reason there are people listed in the Bible who've made mistakes was so we would learn from them and not make the same mistakes.
It shows us that everybody...
And it shows us that everybody, some of the greatest people in the Bible made horrible mistakes, and they got out of it. They learned their lesson, they paid the penalty, and then they learned. Well, that's what God wants us to do. So tonight, and we'll see how long it takes, we're going to look at some people that made some mistakes in the Bible. Now, what we're looking for tonight is why they made the mistake, what they should have done differently, how they could keep from making the mistake. Because some of these mistakes cost people their lives, some cost thousands of lives, some cost, horrible things. So we need to learn from these and not repeat the same mistakes over and over. All right, let's start with Eve. God put Adam and Eve in the garden, and He told them,
We're just looking at the pretty dress she's got on.
"Oh, you don't think she had that dress on?" Well, I couldn't put the pictures up of her in her natural state. Yeah, I did think about that, but I thought, well, that's probably better than the alternative. So.
Yeah.
Now, we know the story. Eve was walking through the garden, and the snake started talking to her, and she started talking back to the snake. And what did the snake say to her? What was the first thing he said? Yeah. Did God really tell you not to eat of the tree? And what was her answer?
Surely you will not die.
She said, yes, God did tell us not to eat of the tree. He said, matter of fact, if we eat of the tree, we'll die. And so the serpent then said, now remember the Bible says the serpent was the cleverest of the animals. And he cleverly said to her, oh, you won't die. But what was the kicker? What was the thing that got her thinking in the wrong direction? What did he say next? He knows if you eat of this tree, you'll be like him. What's the implication?
It'd be a good thing.
It would be a good thing if you ate of the tree. What else is he implying?
You would be like God.
Be like God. Now, you notice he didn't say you'd be greater than God. He said you'd be like God. So what's he implying?
You're not like God now. You're not like God now.
Okay, you're not like God, and you can be if you want to be like God. Yeah. He's also implying that God has shortchanged you. How many times today do we do things because we feel like we deserve? How many commercials are there out there that have some point in the commercial that says, you're worth it, you deserve this? That may be the number one hook they got on commercials. You deserve this. You know, if you buy this extra expensive hair washing stuff, it'll make you, even you could be good looking if you had that. If you use this stuff.
Here first, what?
So what do we need to learn from Eve's failure?
Listen to God, not somebody else.
For one thing, listen to God. Yeah. What else? Don't give in to temptation. What is temptation? Something you want to do, yeah. And you and I are faced with temptation every day. And we have to learn that giving into temptation is usually going to wind up bad. I mean, Eve, it sounded good. You know, if you want to be like God.
Sounds too good to be true.
It sounds too good to be true. It probably is, yeah. Yeah, that's the number one way that con men get you to sign up for stuff you don't really want. If it sounds too good, it's probably too good. You don't want it. So we have to learn that, look at the lie. And the Bible says the lie is still available for everybody. You and I fall for the lie every day. The lie is, first of all, before you can do something wrong, you have to question. And what was the question? Did God really say? How often have we rationalized? Now, I was taught this thing is not a good thing. But what's the big deal? What's the harm? You know, did God really, is he serious about me not telling a little white lie, you know, or taking this little bit of something, or, you know, well, how can I rationalize, say, every day if I go home, if I take a roll of toilet paper or some paper towels or some soap, what would be wrong with that? How would I rationalize that to myself? Nobody's going to know.
They got plenty.
They got plenty. Oh yeah, there's a whole closet full upstairs. And what else can I rationalize?
I need it more.
I need it more than the church. Yeah. I can also say, well, they're not paying me enough anyway. I could, you know, I deserve a little better. We can always come up with rationalizations to do something we know is wrong. I guarantee you there's not a sin on this planet you can't commit that you can't rationalize why you did it. If you murder somebody, what can you say?
Well, they deserved it.
They deserved it. Yeah. You know, we can come up with it. So we have to be aware of what Eve fell for. She fell for the lie. The first step of the lie is you question what you know is right. Did God really say? What's the second step of the lie? You question, then you what?
Question, then you act.
Okay.
Yeah, wrestle
Doubt.
something.
Ma'am?
You doubt?
Yes. You doubt. He said, God didn't really say that. You're not going to die. Before she could do it, she had to doubt that the consequences were actually what God had said. Yeah, you're exactly right. And then what's the third step of the lie? What'd she do next? She did it, yeah. Every sin you and I commit is got those three elements to it. You question, you doubt, you have to doubt the truth, and then you do what you want to do. That's what the Bible calls the sinful nature.
So ultimately, you're questioning the truth.
Yes, sir. You have to question the truth. I mean, let's face it, 99% of the things you and I know if they're right or wrong. So when we do something wrong, we have to somehow get around that. Your brain has to work it out. And unfortunately, we are really good at rationalizing whatever we do.
Yeah, it's kind of, you rationalize it. So you do that, you give into that temptation or sin that way makes you feel not guilty and.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you have to rationalize it because we don't like guilt. Of course, you usually have the guilt too, so we get the best of both worlds there. All right, so this is where it all starts. You question, you deny, and then you sin. All right, the Tower of Babel. This one's always been kind of difficult because the Bible does not actually say what the problem is. It says the people began to multiply and they became strong and they could accomplish anything they wanted to. And then they said, let's build a tower. What's wrong with this? Why did God object? Yes.
Wasn't the tower because they wanted to build their own way to heaven?
Well, that's the way the children's stories often are worded.
Okay.
And that may be an element to it, because the Bible doesn't actually say. It says, let's build a tower to heaven. And the storybook I learned this story from said they were trying to build a way to heaven. I really don't think that's the case. I think you could look at a tower and say, well, that didn't actually go to heaven.
It reads, and a tower whose top is in the heavens.
Right. Right. But read what it says before God intervenes.
Their focus is more and more on, we don't need God.
Yes.
You and ourselves.
Yeah. I think the idea, they said, now what was their rationale for building it? Can you got it?
Beginning.
Yeah, yeah, where it tells the rationale for why they used.
The whole earth had one language and one speech, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And then they said to one another, let us make bricks and bake them. And they had brick for stone and asphalt for mortar, and they said, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens.
Okay.
And let us make
To make a name
for ourselves.
for ourselves. I think that's the problem. Why would God object to them making a name for themselves?
Discouraged now.
Yeah, they're leaving him out. I think that's the bottom line.
Glorifying themselves, not
Yeah, yes. Look how wonderful we are. We're so smart, and we built this tower, and we're going to make a name for ourselves, and the whole world's going to admire us, and boy, we're going. And I think God says, that's not good for you. I think, what does the Bible say about pride?
comes before a fall.
Comes before a fall. Yeah. And so I think they were having a pride issue, and they were thinking, man, if we build this tower, we're going to be extra special. And God says, that's not good for you. God knew they weren't going to build it all the way to heaven. I think they knew they weren't going to build it all the way to heaven. This is a pride matter. And God brought down their pride. Because it's not good for us to think too highly of ourselves. What was Paul's sin? Why did God give him a thorn in the flesh?
Pride.
Yeah. He said, I became prideful because every time I preached a sermon, man, people came forward and people praised me and told me how wonderful I was. That's not good for anybody.
If it says, if anything's good, to give God the credit.
Yes. And they were not giving God the glory. They weren't saying, God has given us the ability to build a huge tower. If they had, they'd probably been all right. But they said, let's make a name for us. So let's be careful about pride. Pride can get anybody in hot water in a hurry. All right. God told Abraham, you're going to have a child. You're going to have many descendants. You're going to be given a land to live in, and you're going to, great things are going to come from your life. Well, Abraham was getting too old. His wife was definitely having age issues. And Abraham had even suggested to God, well, maybe I can adopt a child to be my heir. That's what you did back in those days. If you didn't have a child of your own, you would adopt one. And then he could be your heir and be counted as your kid. And so Abraham thought, maybe that's what God wants me to do. But what did Abraham fail to do? Yeah, he didn't ask God about it. And then his wife came up with a brilliant idea.
That we're still paying for it.
And we're still paying for that one. His wife, now, under the law that they grew up in, now they grew up in Mesopotamia. And under the Mesopotamian law, matter of fact, they even found a whole library full of clay tablets, and written on several of the clay tablets was the directions of what you would do if you, as the primary wife, now Sarah was the primary wife, he was first wife. What's her job? To produce an heir. And if she couldn't produce an heir, how did that make her feel?
Worthless.
Worthless. That's my job. And so she couldn't have a child. She was too old. Now, under Mesopotamian law, these documents, they even found some, that actually said if your primary wife cannot have a child, it is her job to go find you a wife. Sharon and I couldn't have kids for 10 years. And not one time did she ever suggest that. Sir? Not once. Yeah, not once did she say, let me go pick you out a wife. And so Sarah, it says in the document, the primary wife must pick a secondary wife and give it to her husband. And when she has a child, then you take the child as soon as it's born and you place it on the lap of the primary wife. And then she can count that as her kid. So she's done her job. Again, I'm not sure that's going to ever catch on. But that was, in those days, that's the way you did it. And so Sarah went to Abraham and said, well, under our national law, it's my job to find you a wife. I happen to have a girl that we picked up in Egypt. She's probably about 16 years old. Cute as a bug. Now, he's near 80 by this time. You can imagine how thrilled she would be to have a child with an 80-year-old man. And said, I want you to have a child by her, and then I can count that child as my child, and my job will be done, and I will fulfill my role. By the way, it even tells you where the best place to get a secondary wife is. In the book, or in the documents. So if you ever need a secondary wife, the Mesopotamians said you need to get her from Lululand.
Just too close to Lava.
I'm wondering if that's not where the old saying, she was a real Lulu. Must be. At any rate, that's what they did. And she had, the girl, Hagar, had a child by Abraham. Sarah counted as her kid. And what did God say?
No, that's not what I meant.
That's not my plan.
That's not my plan. So what's going to happen?
I'm gonna have a child with Sarah.
Well, yeah, that too. But before that, he said, this child is going to cause trouble. Because you didn't listen to me, he tried to tell him that you're going to have a child of your own. But he never told Sarah she would have the child. So they still got it all mixed up. And God put a curse on that relationship. And he said, this child is going to be blessed because he's your kid. Thousands, millions of people are going to come out of him. He's going to have mighty nations come from him. Unfortunately, what's his descendants going to do?
Fight.
They're going to fight with your other son's descendants forever. And why do we have the Arab-Israeli problem in the Middle East that we have today?
Because of that.
Right there. Because Abraham and Sarah got ahead of God. Now, Abraham may be the greatest man of faith in the entire Bible. The Jews thought that he was the greatest man who ever lived. Some of the rabbis even taught that Abraham was perfect and had never sinned in his life.
They always called him Father Abraham.
Father Abraham. Heaven itself was the bosom of Abraham.
Yeah.
So, what mistake did Abraham and Sarah make that caused this mess? What did they do wrong? You and I need to learn from.
They questioned God. They thought they were going to outsmart God.
They did it their way.
They did it their way. They were trying to help God. We do that. Sometimes we think we need to help God out.
Actually, it was a faithless act.
It was. Yeah. Yeah,
And that guy Abraham was supposed to be a man of faith.
that's right. And we're weak that way.
But, I think there's, religions today that in faith and trying to do the right thing and with the right heart and trying their best to make that same mistake.
Yeah,
Because they just don't, have to nudge it their own way.
that's exactly right. Yes,
He says that they do it in faith, but that's the problem. It's not done in faith.
yeah.
Correctly.
No, you're right.
Their faith.
So, because we can even decide that what we're doing is actually faith. We don't listen to God. We think we can figure it out. And, well, maybe if we put in a full-scale band up here and have church Sunday morning and play instruments and we have skyrockets go off and then, then we'll draw more people in. And we might.
I know 200 you lose, though.
Well, yeah, that's true too. But sometimes we get ahead of God and we think we know what we're doing and we're so smart and we've got marketing people and we have such brilliant people, we can get things done right. When Jesus came, what did he pray every time he prayed?
Not my will, but
Your will be done, not mine. That goes back to this.
One of our biggest failings as humans is we are impatient.
Oh, yes, aren't we though?
And especially now, we live in an instant society. Just one touch and it's right there.
Yes, sir.
God has a timeline that's His. It's not ours.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And to God, a minute can be as but a second, or it can also be 24 hours.
Yes. Yes.
God's timeline is not ours, so we don't need to question what God's plan is.
Yeah. God had told Abraham, first of all, he says, you're going to have mighty nations descended from you. Then he had to come back and tell Abraham, you are going to be the father. You're not going to adopt somebody.
Right.
You're going to be the father. Then he had to come back and say, Sarah is going to be the mother. And it took all three of those before Abraham got it through his thick skull. God's going to work this out if I just trust him. But he couldn't do that. It's hard for us. Why is it so hard for us to wait on God?
I wonder if after that is when Abraham finally did get his faith.
It could
He
be.
did not have faith before. Once God proved to him
Maybe
that
so.
what I said is going to happen, and it happened, Abraham finally got it through his head.
God knows exactly what he's
He
doing.
knows exactly what
Yeah,
he's doing,
yeah.
and I have faith that he will take care of it.
But sometimes we get ahead of God.
It's kind of like a formula.
Sir,
It says it's exactly like a formula.
how's that?
God puts a formula out. If you want to get the right product from that formula, you can't add to it, you can't take away from it.
That's right.
You got to stick to the formula.
That's a good point. Yeah.
We don't wait on God because we want the stuff now.
That's right. We don't want to wait on God.
Patience is-
We're not real good at
But
waiting.
what people don't realize is there's reason.
Yes.
The time and place.
Yes,
for God
sir.
to-
How long was it between the time Abraham knew he was going to have a descendant and he had one?
Years, don't you?
25 years.
you know,
Ma'am? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see.
Okay. I just thought about how it kind of reflected with Adam and Eve, how he was tempted to be with Hagar, and it was almost like a deception. Did God really say that your ancestry was going to come from Sarah, or Sarah's mate?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's like the same thing,
Yes, ma'am.
where he kind of gets tricked to thinking, well, I don't know, God didn't. I mean, it is still through Sarah, so he's kind of, what was it? Rationalizing.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
What is Satan's methodology? Doubt, deception,
See,
lies.
the easy way out. Yeah. And all you're saying is that's Satan's way of doing it. Yeah. He gets us to begin to question and to say, how can we help God here? Do we need to do something ourselves? And did he really mean that? Yeah.
Works on your weaknesses.
Oh, Satan causes you to doubt and to question and to say, is that really bad? what harm will it do? Oh, yeah.
He knows your weaknesses very
Yeah.
well.
He works on your selfishness. is what he-
Oh. Selfishness is one of our biggest issues. So naturally, he's going to use our selfishness against us.
Well, you know, overall, if you think about it, you know, the world is working its way into chaos.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so something's gonna happen to create and encourage and give more and more chaos. So
Oh, sure.
If
Yeah.
that would be something else, it's just the way the world is,
That's-
was not gonna be perfect and get better and better.
Because what comes out of chaos?
You know,
Nothing good.
Nothing good. And you're right. Right now, our nation is as much chaos as it's been in 200 years. So yeah, we got to
Pushing
get.
God out of everything.
We're pushing God out of everything, and it's just going to be more and more and more chaos. All right. In the desert, the Israelites had crossed out of Egypt, headed to Canaan, and on the way, how tough is it to take 2 million people across the desert? Can you imagine? 2 million people, you got to find water and food and safety, and so they're out in the desert. And if you're walking across the desert, day after day after day after day, how do you start feeling?
Tired.
Tired.
they're tougher than we are.
Yeah.
Are we there yet?
Are we there? Yeah. Yes. And so guess what they started doing?
Wanted to go back to Egypt.
Whining and crying. These are people whose ancestors had been in slavery for 400 years. And now what are they saying? Let's go back to Egypt. At least we had plenty of food to eat. We had onions, and we had the real high quality stuff.
He had the Nile River to lay in.
Yeah, oh yeah, everything's wonderful. And they complained and they griped and they didn't like the way God had picked a leader for them. They weren't thrilled with Moses' leadership. And they didn't like the hot, and they didn't like the lack of food, and they didn't like this and that and so forth.
Ready to go back to slavery?
Ready to go back? Yeah. They were actually saying, well, maybe we weren't so bad off back in Egypt. Let's turn around and go home. Yes.
When we are under stress or under some kind of a stressful situation, we tend to forget how bad
Oh,
it
yeah.
was before
Well, sure.
and just focus on that moment.
Yes.
Oh, it's bad right now. We forgot about the whips
Uh-huh.
and the baking bricks with no straw
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and being beaten because you couldn't do that.
Uh-huh.
But we're hungry now.
Yeah.
Eat some dirt. You know,
When we complain, what are we actually doing?
we're doubting.
We're doubting
Complaining to
God. We're doubting the provision of God. God has promised, when God took them out of Egypt, what did He promise them?
Land of milk and honey.
I'm going to take you to a land flowing with milk and honey. And what are they doing?
Traipsing around the desert.
Traipsing around the desert, and they are questioning God Himself. Folks, it is a serious matter when we complain. Because mostly when you complain, who's the ultimate recipient of that complaint? If we complain about the lousy weather, if we complain about our lousy house, if we complain about our lousy spouse, no complaining about it. If we complain about, the jobs we have, what are we doing?
Complaining to God about our place in life.
We are ultimately criticizing God Almighty. So let's be careful about complaining. Complaining sets you in a bad spot. So, what did God do? Well, before that, yeah, you're right. That's a different issue, but it's same, yeah. But what did He do in Numbers?
He sent the snakes.
He sent snakes to bite them. He says, okay, you guys want to complain? I'll give you something to complain about.
The old saying, don't start crying, give you something to cry about.
That's right. Yeah, my parents used that one a few times. God says, okay, I'll give you something to complain about. I'll send snakes amongst you, and some of you are going to die. So what's the lesson here? Yeah, don't complain. To keep it simple, just don't go there.
Don't complain, because it could get worse.
And how does complaining make you feel?
Crummy.
Crummy?
Worse.
Does it ever make you feel better? No, not usually. It depresses us, you know. It's not a good thing.
There's
Yes, ma'am.
actually science that proves that when you complain a lot, it actually like darkens your brain. And,
Yes.
and
Yes.
It just
Yes.
your brain.
Yes.
And there's science behind prayer. It actually
Yes.
has effects on.
Yes,
the
sir.
nerves.
It certainly does. They've even found that laughing makes you healthier. It's easier to get over certain diseases if you laugh.
Or sing. It puts you in a better mood.
Yeah, yeah. So the Israelites' big mistake is they forgot the big picture. You know, they started concentrating on how we are right now, and we do the same thing. You know, instead of saying, God's going to take care of me, God's going to get me through this, we gripe and complain, and we make ourselves miserable. And how do other people like being around you when you're a big complainer?
They don't.
They don't. We all know people that do nothing but complain, and we don't want to spend a lot of time with them. Well, God doesn't either. So that's a mistake people make. Paul said in the New Testament, don't complain. Philippians says, don't complain. So God doesn't want us complaining, because ultimately we are criticizing Him. So that's just something we can give up. Like you said, science and psychology all backs that up. One of my favorite stories, Balaam. When the Israelites were headed on their last stages of the trip to Canaan, they had to cross the land of Moab. The Moabites were a mean bunch. They did not welcome all these foreigners traipsing across their land. And every time somebody had attacked the Israelites in the desert, what happened? Several times before this, the Israelites had crossed other territories. And when they did, well, what happened? When they were attacked by other powers, what happened?
Usually they would be able to defeat them.
Yes! Why? Because God fought the battle for them. Yeah. Sometimes they didn't even have to fight. Maybe the sun would stand still, or the hailstones would fall, or whatever. So they were winning every battle. And there were a lot of them. I mean, you got 2 million people, at least 1 million of them probably going to be able to fight. So they were winning all their battles. The king of Moab gets a bright idea. He says, we can't fight these people. Their God is helping them, and they're too tough. So I'll need some spiritual help. Well, he knew that there was a prophet by the name of Balaam. And he says, we need to go hire Balaam to come put a curse on these people. If they're cursed, then maybe they won't be nearly as tough. And so the king of Moab sent down some princes with big gold and silver and valuables. And they went to Balaam and says, Mr. Balaam, we'd like to hire you to put a curse on this plague of people that's coming into our land. If you just curse them, we'll pay you big bucks, and that's it. Well, Balaam liked the sound of that. Why?
Money.
Yeah, I get paid big bucks for do nothing but go stand there and build the fire and then curse these people. I can do that. I don't have to fight them. I just have to curse them. I can do that. So he told the guys, he said, now, I am a prophet of Jehovah. He didn't realize Jehovah was connected to these people. Right. And Balaam said, I got to go ask him. They said, fine. So he went and asked God and said, God, these guys are here, and they want me to go with them, and they want to pay me big bucks to curse these people that are invading, and I want permission to go. And God said, no, they're my people. Well, Balaam was disappointed, but God had said no. So he went back to the guys. He said, sorry, my God says I can't go with you. I can't put a curse on Israel. So they went home, and they told the king, sorry, Balaam won't come. His God told him no. And Balaam says, the king says, well, let's get some more money. His name was Balak, by the way. He says, let's offer him a bigger paycheck. So they went back. More money, more gold. And said, we really want you to come. Now, Balaam then went back to God. And he says, God, these people really want me to go with them. Right off the bat, what is the huge mistake he has made?
You already had his answer.
He already had an answer. God had already told him no. How many times does God have to tell you no before you know he means it?
Some people a lot of times.
Some people several times. So Balaam said, God, I really need to go with these people. His greed is showing.
Mm-hmm.
And so God said, all right, go with them. So he jumps on his mule and he takes off, or donkey, and he takes off riding down the road toward where the Israelites are. Well, an angel appears before him in the road, but he can't see it. The angel's invisible. And so the donkey turns off the road.
The donkey can see it.
Donkey can see the angel. So Balaam whoops on his donkey and gets him back on the road, and then the donkey just finally lays down in the road because the angel won't move, and he comes to a narrow spot in the road, and he bangs his leg against the wall, and Balaam is losing his temper by the minute. He's getting mad because his donkey is acting crazy. He starts whooping on the donkey with his stick. Now here's where this is my favorite part. The donkey turns and talks to Balaam. He says, why are you hitting me? Now, if you're riding your donkey and he starts talking to you, what do you even do?
Get off of it.
Yeah, I would either think this donkey is haunted or I've got a talking donkey. Man, I'm going to go home and start booking some tours. I'm going to make some big bucks off of it. So, God then, the angel then appears and says, that donkey saved your bacon. You better quit whooping on him. Because if you'd come any further, I was going to kill you. Why was he going to kill him?
He was going against what God told him to do.
There was no question. Balaam knew what God's answer had been. Don't go.
That wasn't the answer he wanted.
That wasn't the answer he wanted. That's exactly the problem. So what do we need to learn from this story?
God tells you no, just accept it.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes God's not going to give you the answer you want.
In other words, when God says no, don't do it.
Don't do it. God is not always going to give us the answer we want.
That's right.
You don't have to know the why every time.
And I don't have to know the answer. So what do I need to learn? Trust God. He's not always going to give me the answer I want.
Just reminds me of there was a song several years ago, I thank God for unanswered prayers.
Mm-hmm.
As we pray for some of the most selfish things, God knows we don't need them.
Yes.
Several years ago, Sharon and I were offered a job in Dallas. And they told me I had the job. The committee that brought us down to talk to us looked at, this was before we came over here. And I wanted a different job. And this was a big improvement, money-wise and size-wise and everything. And the head of the committee that was selecting preachers called me and said, man, we had the big votes, and the elders had told us that we're going to have all these guys come in and try out, and the one that gets the most votes gets the job. And you got the most votes from the whole congregation. You got the job. Be surprised when they call you. I said, all right, I'll try to do that. I already called the moving van company, and then I started waiting. No call. Finally, a couple of weeks later, I get a call from one of the elders that says, we decided to hire John Smith over here. Well, I was real disappointed. And then I found out a couple months later, if I had gone there, it would have been a disaster. God saved my bacon. Ever since then, I've always prayed for something, and I say, God, if this isn't what you want for my life, if this isn't what's best, stop me. And every time he has, I've been grateful. So yeah. All right, next week we'll talk about some more of these folks that made porch, or not next week, 2 weeks from now. We're not going to meet next week. So thanks for coming.